Hello, welcome to this week's episode of GeekAut. I am Owen Mason, your host for this week, and I'm joined always by Simone, and apparently the new founder and creator of the podcast, Al, bragging about it over Twitter.
What did you do, Alvin? Did you brag?
I
Twitter?
may have insinuated that it was me who started the podcast as a means to entice people to be a guest and or listen to the podcast.
Okay.
I was looking at your tweets because Al was doing all this stuff yesterday, and so I was at my classes, and I was looking at my phone on occasion because people do that because they're higher grade students or whatever. And I was seeing, hey, hello, Black Geek nerds. I create a new podcast. It's very cool. You should listen. I'm like, you son of a gun. What are you doing?
Alvin.
It was only me. I did it.
Well, when it comes to claiming credit, I also have a fear of missing out. So
Fair enough. Wait, no, not fair enough. No, I'm not letting you off. No,
no
it's
take
fine.
backsies, no taking back. You said it. It's
No.
on air.
Ah, curses the recorded audio. It's fine. Well, we got some good responses from it. Got some more followers, which is nice.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can follow us on Twitter, GeekAut Official. Throw that out
Yeah.
there. Same for the Facebook page,
There will be a link in the description for that kind of stuff.
as always. So, we're going to try and keep to a format this week. Last week was a bit of a cluster, because it's our first episode. Keep stable. But the first thing we should ask each other is, what have we been up to this week? I'll give it to Simone. I'll let the founder of the podcast go last.
Well, I have been playing a lot of Binding of Isaac. And then my save file got deleted yesterday,
Oh, no.
which
That's-
made me very upset.
Oh, that would destroy me. Oh dear.
Like, I had a few hundred hours.
Oh, jeez.
Like,
No.
200 hours plus on Binding of Isaac. And I played it since it first came out. And it's like, all of that progress gone.
Oh.
And it's like, damn it. I do have noticed that I have become much better at the game because I'm improving and getting progress much faster than I did the first time I tried to play it a long
Yeah,
time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to take as long for me. It's not going to take many years for me to get the same progress.
Yeah. I remember I think it was Football Manager 2010, which is actually one of my favorite versions of Football Manager. Like, the games have gone progressively better, but I loved 2010. I had a game where, for football fans in a wider context, they might understand this. Some of you may not. So I had an Arsenal team. I always play as Arsenal in Football Manager, and I had this ridiculous Christmas tree formation sort of thing. So what would be like an upside down Christmas tree? So it'd be, the bottom would be at the top. So it'd be two strikers, a creative midfielder, and then sort of midfielders in the front, and there'd be like barely any defenders. And it just, because you used to be able to get like really good players on free contracts. So I had like Crespo and Eto on my front. They were like almost retiring. And I always remember it was one of my favorite games because I had this really close game with Bayern Munich in the Champions League semi-final where we only went down to penalties. And that was like at least a couple hundred hours. And somehow the file got corrupted and I lost all that progress.
That's rough.
Because it's one of my I want to go back to it because it's one of my favorite like seasons I've played or lifetime seasons I've played, but it sucks. I was like, no, I lost all that progress. So yeah, that was my experience of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for me, I think it had to do with Eternal Darkness on the GameCube. It's a great game, but there's no autosave function. And so when you're doing well, you might not, there's no checkpoints or whatever. You have to remember to save the game. But if you're in a room with traps or enemies, you can't. It'll say it's not safe to save right now, which can lead to the situation that you're like in a hallway, all the traps are going off. You have you have a bit of health left, and then you're like, oh well, I want to save the game. My last save point, last time I saved is over 2 hours ago, and then you die, and then you lose like 2 hours of progress, which really sucks.
Yeah.
This reminds me of when me and my sister used to play. When we were children, we used to play Super Mario 3. We had a Super Nintendo that something has gotten loose inside of it. So if you didn't press down on a certain spot, it would basically not show any picture on the TV. And we fixed this by putting a dismembered Barbie doll, like only the torso, on top of that spot and playing. And we couldn't speak English when we were children, so we had no idea how to save the game. So me and my sister got really good at the first 2 levels of Super Mario Brothers 3, because we had no idea how to save. So we just played at those 2 levels over and over again. It's like...
So if you were to do a speed run of the first 2 levels of
I'd be so good.
It'd be really good.
That was so good. Like, perfectly good. Like those 2 first levels especially. Like,
yeah.
We became really good at those. But yeah. What else have I been up to this week? Well, I've watched a show called The Amazing Mrs. Maisel. Oh, I can't remember quite the name. But it's a really good show about a woman in the old times. I don't remember which century, but like... Storyline wise, it's shortly after World War II ended, and there's a woman who wants to become a comic, like a comedian, and this is during a time where there were maybe 2 comedians in the whole like country, like in America. It was America, in all of America, because women have traditionally not been allowed to be funny, because being funny is a sort of power. Making people laugh is a kind of power move. So women have been denied that right, and it's really funny, and they have these 2 amazing characters, like the female characters. It's her and her manager. I'm going to link to the show in the description if anyone interested in what it is, because I highly recommend it. I think it's an Amazon original, I believe. And besides that, I wrote another article.
You did?
Yes, which Al forgot to put in time for me to talk for.
Yeah,
sorry. Talk about it now.
Okay. I wrote an article about EA, because EA has not been up to good things lately. EA released Star Wars...
What do you mean lately?
EA has never been up to good. I have a soft spot for EA, because I grew up with a lot of EA games. So...
And there was that period of time where they were trying to do more original stuff.
Yeah.
Where they were kind of like going, oh, we've hurt our reputation, here's a whole bunch of cool things, and then suddenly those cool things didn't make money.
Yeah, like how EA for some reason eats developers, like for breakfast. They just devours them, like sucks out all their creativity, and just poop, they're gone.
Rest in peace, Visceral.
Rest in peace, Visceral.
There you go, heads down.
Rest in peace, Black Owl Studios.
Let's have a silent second for all those studios. Okay, it's done. Alright, anyway, I did write an article about it, so it's a good article. It's a good article to read if you wondered what's going on with Star Wars Battlefield 2 and what the story is, because I wrote a summary of it. Apparently EA lost $3.1 billion in stock value, and people celebrated this as, yay, we have defeated microtransactions, because the reason it got bombarded with negative press is because of the microtransactions in the game. But the thing is, if you look at the trend of the stocks, you can see a uphill movement. So even if the stocks are down, it's still in overall in like the long year prognosis, is still going upwards. So I wrote about that. So if you're interested about state of the industry stuff and explanation of Battlefield 2 and what's going on with that, it's a good article to read. I liked it. A lot of people didn't like it or didn't care about it. Because I've been spoiled because I've written articles these last few weeks and they've gotten like 500 views and reads. And this one barely broke 30. And it's like, damn it, people, I've gotten used to this fame. It's still good. I mean, there's more people that I know in like physical life. So like, that's good. But still.
People are going to buy lower stock sometimes because they know the highs are going to be there. And for a company like EA, you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to buy these stocks now. And then when FIFA and Madden come out, it'll be all right again because the stocks will go up. And I was trying to demonstrate the hand signal, but I didn't realize that nobody can actually see it. So,
well,
no.
What have you been up to, Alvin?
Aren't I being saved for last?
No, I'll let you go next.
I've been busy with school. I'm writing an essay on the portrayal of Cleopatra in art.
How she's like sexualized?
They were my favorite girl band.
Will you stop, Owen? I'm talking about the last actual pharaoh of Egypt, and
their ITV show was really good. It wasn't.
If we ever start a Patreon, you're not getting any money of it.
What? This was my idea, Al.
Well, there's.
Oh, apparently it's yours. Now we know this.
So I've been busy with that. I played some board games today, which was fun. Played King of Tokyo, which is about, hey, you're a big monster, smash, smash, smash. It's like a combination of kaiju monsters and Yahtzee. So
I don't know what
fun.
either of those things are.
Yeah.
Kaiju are big
Have you played Risk? Because it's kind of like
I don't know what
Risk.
Risk is either.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
cool.
I'm uncultured. I'm a Swedish hillbilly.
It's fine. So
You don't even have IKEA Risk or IKEA Monopoly. Is there an IKEA Monopoly?
You have to construct all the pieces yourself. So
Oh,
nobody buys
okay.
it.
Yeah.
And it's really shoddy and always breaks.
Yeah, because okay, this is weird. Anyway, and I've been playing Destiny 2. I've been playing the trial. And
I heard really bad things about Destiny 2.
I need to get back into it because
it's
I
fun.
brought it a while ago.
It's fun.
I've not played it much. I've only played the Warlock really in Destiny 2, and apparently they changed the class. So now when you you unlock your powers, you're like an angel made of sunlight, and with your ultimate you get like a sword made of sunlight, and you can shoot beams and stuff, and it's pretty interesting.
Because I played Destiny, so my character transferred over. That's the term. I forgot what I was before, but now I get this giant beam sword, not katana, but like a beam stick. So I can just whack everybody with it now instead of what I had before.
Are you talking
Which is
about a
pretty
hammer?
neat.
You call it a stick.
Well, it's a stick. It's a long stick. It's like what
Do you?
Ninja Turtle.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like a staff. Okay.
Yeah, no, I was staff.
It's called a
That's the
staff,
term.
not a long
Yeah.
stick. Come on.
I'm so uncultured. I'm sorry.
Imagine if in the Lord of the Rings, instead of
Get me my long
Gandalf
stick.
bringing out his magic staff, he goes and whack people with his giant stick. It doesn't have the same oof like wand or staff.
But Ian McKellen say that would be awesome. I got my long stick. Oh, fuck.
Fear my long stick.
Yeah.
Be sure to stick around.
You shall not pass my long
Al,
stick.
Oh.
No, Al. No.
The pun
has been
maker
the-
strikes again.
GeekAut podcast.
We're never done.
All right.
And, I've been going to school. I've been playing some Heroes of the Storm with Kim, my girlfriend, who, by the way, we didn't do this
Cool.
last time. The name of the podcast was actually Kim's idea. So,
Yes,
hooray
it
for
was.
Kim.
Hooray!
Yeah.
She really saved
Stop,
us.
sir.
We were
Giving
like,
claps.
a few
need a
hours
good
before
name.
the podcast started. It was like, what are we gonna name it? What are we gonna name it?
Oh, and also I've been playing a lot of Puzzle and Dragons on the 3DS, which is like a combination of Pokemon and Bejeweled, but instead of Pokemon, it's dragons.
That actually sounds fun.
It's pretty good. I played the you got
Yeah,
the 3DS
and there's also
version,
there's two
right?
games. There's a normal one, and there's also one
Yeah.
with Mario.
That's the one I've been playing, the Mario one. Which, of course, like I will play the other Puzzle and Dragons one, like the actual one, because that seems really fun. But I think I just had to try, because I think if you're going to start it first time, you might as well do the Mario stuff and get all the basics, and then move on to actual Puzzles and Dragons.
So that's that, and and I want to get a game I want to get back into is Horizon Zero Dawn, because I love that game.
I jumped into it very briefly, and I need to go back into it again. I'm tempted. I was going to start again, but then I just need to get my senses back with it. But it is very
Well,
good.
what have you been up to, Owen?
Like Al, I'm studying at the moment, studying web development. So they've been giving us assignments left, right, and center, and worksheets, and it's not fun. But when I do have time, I've been trying to jump into a few things. I've got like a backlog of stuff that I want to try, or at least smaller games I want to try. And I mean, some of this will go into our topic of the week. Sometimes I like to jump into Overwatch. Sometimes I like to jump into a platformer. So like your Dust, your Sonic Mania, your 88 Heroes, your whatever. Or sometimes I want to shoot stuff. But I haven't shot stuff in a while, so that might come up really badly if I wasn't. I haven't shot anything in a while. No.
Video games are violence. Yes. They all
Yes,
turn
they are
us
very
into
violent.
hedonistic sinners. And we stray from the path of God when we
Yeah.
play The Sims and kill
Yeah.
people by removing the stairs going out of the pool. Other people did that, right? I was not the only kid who did that. Who murdered their Sims by taking out the stairs going up the pool.
Well, everyone knows,
My
Well,
sister
well,
would do it
everyone
all
knows
the time.
people-
My second oldest sister.
autistic people are devoid of knowing what's right and wrong, which is
Of
a
course.
segue into the next topic, which will come with a trigger warning
Yes,
due to mentioning of...
Yeah, I'm going to add trigger.
Oh, I should also mention, I forgot to mention, I watched the newest episode of Dragon Ball
Okay.
Super earlier
I was going to
today.
say that I'll
Very
add,
happy.
because last time I added trigger warnings and timestamps, so I'll add that this week too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Because we will be mentioning rape and rape culture and pickup artists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
So you saw this article earlier this week, and you were tweeted to the account. And that's how I saw it. You tweeted the account like this would be a quote unquote good topic to mention on the show. So I'll let you talk briefly about it, because it's not
a
it's
fun
not a fun subject.
So, basically, there's this dude called Jason Berlin, and he's serving a 6-year sentence for participating in the rape of an inebriated woman in 2003. And at the time of when he did that, he also parlayed. He basically he hosted talks about how to quote unquote
No, he
play
didn't
the game.
He didn't host them, but he attended them.
He attended them. Oh, excuse me. He attended them, and his lawyer and he himself used the defense of, well, I recently found out I'm autistic. Ergo, due to my autism, I didn't know what I was doing was wrong.
Which is incredibly offensive. And I just want to disclose that I've never been raped, I think. Something happened when I was a child, but never as an adult. But I've been around men who are rapists, who are convicted of rape, who have wanted to rape me. And they're terrible friends. So when I first read this, I took it really hard, because even though I've never been outright out raped, at least not as an adult, it still made me very afraid reading about this guy. Like I would get not flashbacks, but I will start hyperventilating, and I'll start being afraid, and I will start to hurt in my body. So it's like, I don't like this asshole at all. Both because, like we discussed last week about how some men who are autistic will use their disorder in order to hurt women. Like how they will, like the guy who tried to tape me in the shower, like, and this was all excused on, oh, they're autistic. Like, them violating our privacy, our bodies, our spaces are okay, considered to be okay, because they can't help it. Though we have all the femme autistic people who can clearly do it all the time. Like, there was never a femme autistic person who did these things. There was always a guy. It was always a cis man. So clearly you can actually raise kids and children to learn what is wrong and right, even if for some reason it would be autism's fault, but it isn't.
Yeah. And what I want to mention here is that for those who don't know, PUAs, pickup artists, they try to they're very predatory, not just towards women, but towards their audience as well, because they prey on insecure and lonely men most of the time. Because they're like, hey, just follow these easy steps and then you'll get laid for sure. And it's all about following a script. And if you don't know what a script is, just imagine.
Actually, I have a good likeness. Remember we talked about IKEA furniture? When you want to assemble a chair in IKEA, you get these instructions that tell you, if you follow these instructions, you will get a finished chair. Pickup artists are basically the IKEA of dating. They get this list of what to do, and they will reward it to sex if they follow the instructions.
Yeah, but like it's like also when you go to a fancy restaurant for the first time and you've never been. It's like, well, how do I behave? And you start thinking back to all the times you've watched, movies about fancy restaurants, and you try to be like, okay, so if I hold my fork like this and talk to the waiter with garçon, more wine, s'il vous plaît, it's like, and autistic people more than non-autistic people follow scripts in order to, survive, to get through daily life. And so we're a lot more susceptible to, like what you said, Simone, to people who are like, hey, if you don't know how to do this stuff, well, you can do this stuff. And if you get a hyper focus on, if I do this thing, then another thing will happen, it becomes very easy to be oblivious to what's happening around you. Because you get this hyper focus of, like, I do this thing, ergo this thing should happen. And if the thing doesn't happen, you get frustrated and confused. And like we said last time, that can lead to a lot of internal conflict and confusion. I mean, I'm sure you two have had experiences with that.
Yeah, because I feel like with social interactions sometimes, I I get it in my head that I think ever since I found out that everybody's different, and this is gonna sound very weird, like ever since I found that out, it's gotten me more, not paranoid. It's gotten me more kind of, oh, if I do this thing, this might make this person think this of me, or if I do that, this person might think that, or like, because I've gone through life somewhat in the last few years of the fact I do care about people and the fact that I'm funny, apparently. But it's all about sort of how to time that and what is said. But then even if, some people like you, like I used to be somebody who wanted everybody to like me. And if somebody didn't like me, I'd be thinking, oh, what should I do? What if I do wrong? What subsection of thing? But in the last few years, I kind of realized, well, there are some people who aren't going to like you. Don't focus on them. Focus on the people who do actually care. Which is why I've had to get rid of a lot of friends and people like that because they don't care. And sometimes I keep people on because I feel like I'm going to talk to them one day. But most of the time, I'm just like, okay, I'll forget about that. But also to your point, I feel like these PUAs also pick up on the sort of thing that shows like Channel 4's The Undateables do, or The Autistic Me, which is a very good BBC documentary covering from 3 different perspectives. But it also, there's a section of that where if you're autistic, and I don't know why this is, or if you're autistic, you're always told, oh, you do these things and you need to get, not that you need to get a girlfriend, but it's like, oh, you're not expected to get a girlfriend. So that's one of the things you're pressured kind of to do. And I've always found it weird because that doesn't have to be a big thing in your life, but to some of these people, they could be pushed that direction where that's a big thing in their life to get a date, go on dates, get a girlfriend, get married, and these people kind of go, well, I heard about your social pressures. Here's a checklist.
Yeah, true. There is a certain expectancy, and it's like placed upon
that's the right
everyone.
Word, yeah.
Where so you're supposed to finish high school. You're supposed to finish university. You're supposed to get a job. You're supposed to get a girlfriend. You're supposed to be dating. And even if you're not interested in all of those things, it can get conflated with all the other stuff you're not interested in, but you're supposed to do, like, give people a handshake. So it can all get, put in the same box of, well, I don't care all that much, but I guess I'm supposed to do this, so I'll do this, I guess.
It also comes down to, not to go wildly off topic, and I'll come back in a second, about sort of gender norms, about how, hey, you're a girl, you're supposed to wear pink stuff, and you're a guy, you're supposed to wear blue stuff, even though, and that sort of thing, that sort of expectations. And there's a lot of, like, I've been to a lot of childcare stuff where it's kind of expected that you do certain things because of your gender. Or
when a boy doesn't conform to the gender norms, people can think it's funny. When a girl doesn't conform to the social gender norms, people get angry.
Yeah.
Up to a point, I'd say it's easier for men to do, but I'll also say that there's, when you're surrounded by, toxic masculinity, and, pickup artists are the most toxic of them all, it's easy to get pressured into, not wanting, it's easy to get pressured into that mindset, because when you're surrounded by people who, measure your value by the amount of women you date or are intimate with, then and at the same time you're being pressured to conform, and you're being told that, hey, your own social norms aren't good enough, you should follow, social training and whatever, then yeah, I'd say that autistic men are a very, like I said, a very easy target for pickup artists to influence and exploit.
Mm.
True.
Yeah.
They prey on the weak.
Yeah, and if you're socially not very strong and influenceable, then pickup artists are gonna like they'll see you as a target, as a hey, I can make money off
They
you.
come with all the solutions. At least they're
Mhm.
sort of similar to when religious groups go outside knocking doors after hurricanes, because they will do that.
Mm.
Like some, I wouldn't mention any because some could get angry, but basically they a lot of religious groups, especially ones that are a little more culty, after for example a big hurricane or a flood, they will actually go and knock door to door and say they have all the answers, trying to get people to join their cause when they are at the weakest. Like, it's sort of the same mentality, like they prey on these people.
Mm-hmm. So and we should be mindful of that. But even though this Berlin guy was preyed upon by the pickup artists, he's still 100% responsible for what he did, because you know when you're doing a bad thing. You know when someone doesn't want something to happen. You understand what words mean.
There's also this one need to know, what I want to say about is that there's a reason why people think rape is worse than murder, because let's for example say we'll use a fly. If I would take a newspaper or rolled up loose newspaper and kill a fly, most people wouldn't blink an eye. But if we would take that fly and start pulling its legs and wings one by one, you wouldn't find that okay. That's because torture, humans are the only animal capable of enjoying torture. Because we're the only animal with enough mind, with enough intelligence to be able to harm someone in that way. So, and that's the reason why rape is seen as one of the cruelest thing you can do to a person, because it's a form of torture.
Cool, thank you. So it might be a bit of a jarring transition, but
I think we need to
let's talk about self-care, because we need
after all
self-care.
that.
We need something
this,
happier.
And
So this is
the
our
topic of the week.
Is about. We need a jingle, like just topic of the
Week
week.
with an echo.
It's like week. I don't.
Simone, can you add an
Echo,
echo effect?
yeah.
Like topic of the week, like topic of the week, like topic of the week.
Topic of the week.
So,
So I have down here. It's games as a means of self-care.
lots of people with autism, they get overwhelmed, with all the, when you've had a busy day, you come home and you have like a stress headache on both sides of your head, and everything is just too much. You need something to be able to wind down. And for lots of people, including me, that can be a game. So when you're overwhelmed, you can, wind down. When I'm very anxious, after studying a lot or having some stress or whatever, I need to be able to wind down. And for me, this might sound counterproductive, but I really like games with a lot of sensory output, where there's a lot of, sounds and music and bright colors. Because I get enveloped in it, and if it has me follow a rhythm, like the game, like Amplitude. For those who don't know, Amplitude is a music rhythm game where the different tracks of the song, like the bass, guitar, vocals, etc., are spread out, and you switch between the different tracks, and you have to hit certain buttons in order to have the track play itself for a while. So you keep building up songs and music, and it's really well made. No, that's AudioSurf. AudioSurf is also a perfect game, but also things like Bejeweled, for instance, or Lumines, or even Super Hexagon. If it has to do with music and rhythm, and a bit of puzzling, Tetris, stuff like that, it really helps me calm down. What about you, Simone?
I actually don't play games for self-care. Well, I sort of do. Like, one thing I like to do is role play while I play games. So like, for example, Legend of Zelda, I would play Epona's song to the cows and get milk, and then I would run over to the guy in Castletown. I'm talking about Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time now. I would run back to the guy in the Castletown and sell him the milk and pretend I'm a milkman. And I would do this for an hour. Like, I do the same thing with Skywind Sword. When
cool.
when you fly around on the bird. Like I would fly around between NPCs and pretend I'm a mailman.
That's a form of self-care too. If it helps you wind down, if it helps you deal with anxiety or whatever.
Yeah.
What about you, Owen?
I've taken to like just wanting to try new things or go to new worlds. I guess that's the proper way of putting it. Like I like getting myself involved in the story until I kind of stop. So like one point I was playing Digimon Story.
Cyber Sleuth?
Cyber Sleuth. Yes. I played that extensively because I just wanted to get enveloped in something. But the stranger thing is when I went back to it just a couple months ago, because the PS4 version was cheaper and I thought I'd just transfer everything from my Vita to my PS4. Played it and then I was like, why did I play this for so long? I have like 40 hours in this game. This game is garbage. What am I doing? I think my only issue with that is how sort of the main protagonists are always conceived as, because the main protagonist in Digimon Story, she's always late. Even if you like go there super quickly, there's always the thing where the characters go, oh, you're late. I'm like, no, I'm not late. I got here before you scumbags. You just popped up on the screen. Like, what the frick? That was one of the annoying things about that game. And then the combat's just like, oh, I could just throw my controller down and just let it go for a bit. Let it do all the combat itself because I've gotten my monsters that high up. But then I was like, if you play something like a Persona 5, where you're getting enveloped in that story and all the characters that come within that, that's something I like doing. Or, getting invested in a world even if the story's not great. So something else like Dust and Elysian Tale is very good at that. But then also sometimes I just want to throw on something that's like different and just see how it is. And if I don't like it, I delete it. Just like get rid of it. But if I do like it, I just keep going with it and I have something to back up that in case I can play later. So that's very important to me. Yeah.
I would like to ask our listeners if they have any suggestions of games they play as self-care and in which situations they play those games. Please let us know on our Facebook, on our Twitter.
Yeah, we'd love to hear them.
Or comment on the SoundCloud, because we'd love to hear them.
Yeah. We're always happy for new things on the show.
Yeah.
New
and
topics
Simone,
to talk
you
about.
wanted to mention something which you called bad self-care?
I did?
Yeah, something about loot boxes.
Is this something to do with the article you wrote this week?
Something about loot
Maybe.
boxes?
Oh, yeah. All right. I mentioned the article I wrote.
I actually, just so you know, I tapped my nose a bit and I pointed to the corner of my screen.
We've already been
you'd
through
see it
this
somehow
earlier in the
if you
recording.
didn't. So that's just as reference. I know, I can't help it.
I am a game developer. I'm an indie game developer, so I have no experience. I've never.
Boo, scumbags.
Yes, we're all garbage. But anyway, I am garbage. But the AAA industry is also garbage. But it's not only garbage; it's filthy garbage. And I burned every bridge in that industry. But okay. But yeah, so EA loves microtransactions. A lot of AAA companies actually love microtransactions, and it's gone so badly that legislation will probably happen. Like, they're actually going to bring the question about loot boxes. For those who don't know, loot boxes are random crates that you can pay with real money. And they basically changed the game in some way. For example, in Overwatch, they pad out the loot boxes with sprays in order to make it less likely for you to get the skins you want. So they're going to try to frustrate you into paying for the loot crates. And in Battlefield 2, like Star Wars Battlefield 2, the gameplay was so grindy like so annoying and slow unless you paid up, because they're trying to psychologically bully you into paying up. Like they're actually, you know, was it Activision that patented a system for this? Like with the Activision
Yes.
patented a system for matching new players with players who had paid for items, or not paid for, but they had better items, so that the newer and more beginner players would go, oh, that sword looks awesome, I want it, and then want to pay for microtransactions in order to get it. Like, the industry is so greedy, so hungry, because they can't just make some of the money, not even most of the money. They want to make all of the money. So they will try to draw out every single penny from you. And it's gone so far that this question will likely be brought up in the UN, I think it's called in English, EU. And it's going to be brought up before them in a few years because of Belgium. Because Belgium said, yes, I think it was Belgium, said, yes, this is gambling. Because they're copying gambling mechanics. For games they sell to children as well as adults. There are kids who, like the mobile market has been doing this for a long time, and there are people who paid tens of thousands of dollars on Candy Crush and all those games. Like, and many of them are kids. A lot of them are adults.
But some of them also are, there are whole industries of that where they're called whalers.
Yeah.
Where they're rich enough, so to speak, to be able to throw in a 10,000 pound, euro, dollar, whatever.
Which also makes it very clear. We live in an industry where people refer to payers as whalers and like whales and dolphins, like fish. Like we just stim of fish. Like it's so dehumanizing, and really shows how they think of us. We are just cattle with money. We were just brought into stables and start paying up for the space. They want nothing from us more than just take our money. They don't care about us at all. They don't care about who they hurt. They don't care about how they destroy video games, because it like this kind of like Overwatch is a good game. It's a very good game. But a game is then devalued by these microtransactions. Like, you used to be able to pay $60 for a game and you knew that this was the whole game. But now they section up stuff that you either get by incredible minimum chance, because there's no way to buy a specific skin you want. You can only get them through the microtransactions or random loot boxes. So it's not about player choice. It's only about money.
Exactly, and the reason we call it a form of bad self-care is because the way the loot boxes are often animated and designed. Because, like, for example, the Overwatch loot boxes, when you're gonna open one, it's all glowy and stuff, and then you click it, and then there's a special animation. You see the colors fly out, and there is it changes every event. Some
so
loot boxes during events, they have like time-specific items, which are very rare. So then you're like, oh well, now I have to give them something because I'm feeling bad, and if I get this one skin, I'll feel better about myself. And you know, if you get a rare legendary skin or item, then the music is extra jingly and special. So they're really going after that small shot of endorphins. We are like, bling, shot of happiness. And that's the addictive part of it. And that's why we call it bad self-care, because for a moment you feel better or relieved that you're like, oh, hey, I took a risk, but now I feel better because now I have this thing. But instead of actually, you know, calming down.
It's only temporary.
It's only temporary. It's the same with, you know, oh, I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. Let's go to the slots and, you know, put something in there, and with all the bleeps and the sounds and the lights. Same thing here.
And I will admit, it used to be a problem with me where when I'd feel bad, and this isn't like anybody's fault. This isn't like, I mean, I have brought loot boxes for Overwatch.
Likewise.
But I don't think like part of that wasn't bad self-care. It was just wanting to get the skin. But like bad self-care sometimes is if you've got a big backlog of games and a sale comes up, or or something happens and you see the price that you want to get it, even though you might not play it straight away. Like it's sort of Steam syndrome. So that could be a bad form of it, because you're buying something and you don't know if you'll play it straight away. And you're feeling better for buying that game. And sometimes there are genuinely good reasons of doing it. Say, I'm going to get Gang Beasts in a couple of weeks when it comes out on PS4. Because I love Gang Beasts and I want my family to play it over Christmas. But then there are times when if you want to support that concept, then that's alright. But if you're doing it just because you're feeling down and you need a pick-me-up and you need something to do when you have other games you could be playing, then that could be a bad form of self-care as well, because you're not helping your account and you're not helping yourself. And I've fallen into that trap.
Yeah, many people have
a couple of times
and
in my life,
that's one of the one of the reasons why games have started introducing the ability to watch other people open loot boxes, like they did with Call of Duty. Yes,
Call of Duty
World War II. Yeah,
World War II has an achievement. No, I don't think it's an achievement. It's a thing. It's a task box.
Yeah,
it's a task box to
it's
do.
like a daily
it's not
task
an actual achievement.
You get rewards
to do that.
So you just go to Normandy Beach and watch other people open loot boxes, because there is nothing more fitting for World War II.
I remember that scene in Saving Private Ryan.
Exactly, you go to the beach of Normandy and watch a loot box drop from the sky full with items. Of course,
then you open it. Yeah.
Yeah, like loot boxes.
That's how we beat the Germans.
Exactly.
Through loot boxes.
Thanks, Jesus. Yeah. Just dropping them from the sky like god boxes. But yeah.
And the thing with loot boxes, just to bring that up, is like, because there was been this talk about a dearth of single player games. Like the single player game is dying, and whilst we're in the same year as Persona 5, Nier Automata, Wolfenstein 2,
exactly, all single player
Horizon
games.
Zero Dawn, all single player games, and you know what? They don't have loot boxes.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Yeah, but it's also the same thing about how the industry said for years that horror is dead. And then games like Outlast come out and sell across the world.
Amnesia.
And Amnesia, yeah. And they still repeat this. Horror games don't sell. Horror games don't sell. They have no evidence for these claims. They just repeat it. They do this exact same thing with what they did to horror games as what they're doing now to single-player games. They say single players don't sell. And it's abundant of evidence around us that they do sell. They sell very well, even.
They're also critically acclaimed. Like,
think about Skyrim. Like, Skyrim is one of the most well-sold games in the world. And it's a single-player game.
Yeah.
Like, why is the only company that understands the single-player games are still good is Bethesda? And nobody else?
Horse armor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, horse armor, which Bethesda have done many great things. They also included to make microtransactions a joke before anyone else did with horse armor.
Yeah.
Because for Oblivion, you could buy horse armor that was only cosmetic. And people laughed at that, but that's gonna be funny because people laughed at it, but right now you can buy only cosmetics for a lot of video games. Stuff that used to be included for free, but no longer is.
Let's not forget paying for mods.
Oh yes, the Creation Club. We're gonna hit all the big hitters today, aren't we? I have a lot of troubles with the Creation Club. I find it the worst thing is that all the mods they're offering are just shitty versions of mods that are already out there, like much better. So I'm really hoping they don't earn any money from the Creation Club.
True. So, before we were...
but it's also like these games are critically acclaimed too, because somebody put up a tweet about... this is funny. Somebody was saying, they had free games, and they were Nier Automata, There was Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Persona 5, and they were saying, oh, game journalists are saying, I brought all these games because game journalists were saying that these games weren't were offensive, and they were gonna, ruin, they were trying to ruin their sales. But I brought them because I'm a rebel and
What?
games journalism is dying. And then people were like pointing out, so Nier Automata is one of the best games of the year, according to some people. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 just came out, and it got a lot of good reviews. And Persona 5 is one of the highest review games of the year, according to Metacritic. It's like 94 right now. So, even say that argument is weird, because you're going, hold on, these games are amazing. To, I've got Nier to play. Like, I want to play it. But then these games are like critically acclaimed stuff. So, if anything, you should be happy that they're supportive. And yeah, there's some problematic aspects of all three of those games. But that still doesn't stop the fact that they're single-player games getting high reviews in an industry that apparently doesn't want them anymore. So Al will host next week. Simone will host after that. It'll go back to me. And we'll do it in a way, but we'll let you know in advance, because we know that some people have a bit of difficulties, not with change so much as different stuff
Unannounced.
happening. And it'd be hypocritical for an autism podcast with people with autism to not take that into account. So that's what we're doing. So we did actually put out the word for a question, and we did get one question. Oh, before we go into that though, thank you very much for the feedback we've been getting for the first episode. It's been very nice. My favorite being my mum and my aunt, who both like our chemistry but have no idea what we're talking about. So that's a positive, I think.
That's cute.
Shout out to Owen's
That could be our
family.
slogan. GeekAut, confusing people since 2017.
GeekAut, confusing moms and aunts since 2017.
Yep, that's our slogan now.
Or GeekAut, you like us talking but don't know what we're talking about.
Yep. That's just autism in general, sure.
Maybe we can bring your aunt on the show, and it will be called Geek Aunt.
That maybe. No. You're banned from the show. You're not hosting next week.
Alvin strikes again.
Taking that from
Okay,
you.
so yeah.
All right, so Al, you've
I
probably
do.
got this question in front of you.
Oh yeah,
Let's throw this out there. Let's
All
get
right.
out one question in our very
Remy
empty mailbag.
asked, what are some recommendations of media that accurately reflect us? So which media, like movies or games or comics or whatever, do we recommend to other people that are a good representation of us? And Owen?
So I've been thinking about this since I first saw it, and it's hard to pin that down. It's because you don't fit into any predominant boxes, so it's hard to narrow that down. I mean, I know of good that I feel is good representation, but not a thing that is good representation of me as a
I have
person.
one, which I like. And that's Abed in Community.
Abed!
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Alvin wrote an article about that, which I will also link in the
Thank
description.
you.
Al's done talks. I think you've done stuff with Abed before.
Last
Well, you've
year
talked about-
I hosted a panel on neurodiversity in film and TV, and during the panel I mentioned Abed. So yes, I guess.
Well, you also then interrupted a panel a few times the year before that, and spoke about different stuff, which you did. I'm trying to narrow it down. I can talk about bad representation. I talk about something that doesn't coincide.
like,
'cause
except for-
I feel like this could
Except
be.
for Abbott, I mostly as a bad. Like Sheldon in The Big Bang
Yeah.
Theory is a terrible representation.
Ah,
But-
Sheldon. But he's not autistic.
Oh
They've
yeah, he
said
got
that.
tested.
Yeah. Well, maybe we
Ah.
can save that for next time because we're next week.
It would take
Next week,
it
Sheldon
would take a
Cooper.
very long time to go through all the
True.
bad representation because most of our representation is terrible.
I've got 4 words though. You can hype that for next week. The Book of Henry. Keep that in your back
I don't know what that
pocket.
is. It's gonna be exciting to
ready.
hear about
I'm
that.
already
Wow,
terrified.
Yes. Get ready. It's the reason why Colin Trevor is not directing episode 9 of Star Wars.
Oh boy.
Oh dear.
Probably.
Well, do you have any questions for us? Please send them to our Twitter, which is GeekAut Official. There will be links in the description for all of these. We also have a Facebook, which is GeekAut.
GeekAut Official is our Facebook.
And and you can always comment on SoundCloud or on YouTube. We read all of those. And thank you all for listening. And I hope you had a good time. And we'll see you next week.
See ya next
Yeah.
week.
See you next week. Thank you for listening, and we hope to get your feedback and stuff. And thank you for listening. Bye, everyone.